Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is SockBot, and today I want to talk about LittleBigPlanet and whether or not it is still worth playing and or buying if you don't have it already. So if you are interested in that sort of discussion slash review, we'll call it like a secondary modern review of the series as of 2019. It's 2019, right? Yes. If you are interested in that, please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, but you already know all of that stuff. You're not pressured. You don't have to do it. I don't know why I revert to this accent when I talk like that, but regardless, let's get right into it. So this entire video is based off of a comment on one of my recent videos, which asked whether or not it was worth playing LittleBigPlanet to practice for dreams. Now, I'll get to that in a second, but I think the bigger question is here, why is it worth it to still play LittleBigPlanet? Because in my opinion, it is. And so, for one reason, it's still worth it to get the games because obviously all of the story mode and the downloadable content and all of the community levels are all stockpiled in these games, and they're just fantastic games to play in general. But I think the more specific question that they're asking about, and that a lot of people are wondering, is if Dreams is going to replace LittleBigPlanet. And to some extent, yes, it is. Dreams, to me, is the spiritual successor to LittleBigPlanet's Create mode. But it's just the Create mode. So like I said, all of the gameplay from the first few games are going to still be there, and I actually would expect that there may be a sequel in the future. But as for creating, I do think that Dreams is going to become this whole, like, epitome of games that can create other games. I think that title is going to move over to Dreams from LittleBigPlanet, and that's fine. But one of the specific questions that they asked in that comment was whether or not it was worth it to practice within LittleBigPlanet, and if those tools are going to transfer over, or more specifically, if skill with those tools is going to be useful in LittleBigPlanet. And there's two parts to this. One is, yes, a lot of the tools are very similar. So if you wanted to practice the logic or any sort of technology, like background technology, a lot of that is very similar between LittleBigPlanet and Dreams. The controlinators and like how controlling things with the controller, or like setting switches to be activated by ports on the controller, that's very different, as well as characters are obviously completely different, so it's not really worth it to practice that. But playing around with that sort of tech is worth it to practice for Dreams if you're interested in that sort of thing. Just kind of coming to the understanding of what different gates and different switches are and different triggers are, kind of learning the concept of that and where you should use certain switches and where other switches make more sense, and just, learning what each of the switches are in general. Like, do you know what a selector is? Do you know what a randomizer is and how it works? Do you know how to change the settings on all of these things? Obviously, the button combination is going to be different within Dreams, but the interface has definitely taken a lot of notes from LittleBigPlanet, and in a way is kind of an evolution from LittleBigPlanet. But whether or not it's still going to be worth it once Dreams comes out to practice, or rather to play in the Create mode of LittleBigPlanet, kind of depends on what you're looking for. As we've talked about in multiple videos at this point, Dreams is hands down tougher to create in than LittleBigPlanet. I don't think anybody's doubting that. It is just tougher. There is more to think about in 3D than ever before, and it definitely is more time consuming and it's more difficult. But not much. By the things that I've talked about in previous videos, namely the shortcuts that they've added and a lot of the addition of keyframes and different technology, it saves you a lot of time when you're trying to create things and gives you a lot more options. And so it may take longer and it may be more difficult, there may be more to learn to actually fully comprehend Dreams, but it may still be worth it to play LittleBigPlanet in Create mode if Dreams is just completely overwhelming to you. And I know that I will particularly be going back occasionally to LittleBigPlanet to create stuff in it, just because I do enjoy that tool set and I enjoy Sackboy and I enjoy creating levels in that respect. But I think for a lot of creators, it is going to feel somewhat old and somewhat limiting once you experience all of the lack of limits that Dreams has. That being said, I would not be surprised if there was a LittleBigPlanet 4. if they ended up releasing something, I mean, I know Sumo Digital has all of the rights and is working on it, but if they were to release a Little Big Planet 4, there still would be a create mode, and they wouldn't release it unless there was some sort of big leap forward in the technology and the creation aspect of it that was available. And so I kind of see it going in this way, where Dreams becomes this crazy open platform where anything is possible, but also all of that creativity and all of those options makes it a little bit more intimidating and possibly more difficult for newer creators that haven't made games before. And so it may still be that kind of niche for fulfilling people that want to create something and want that sort of basis to go off with Sackboy, rather Little Big Planet is this, and then kind of evolving from that to Dreams, or not at all. If you wanted to just play the next Little Big Planet and just create in that, well, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some evolution there. And as to what that evolution actually is, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to add to it. I don't know what possibly they could add that wouldn't make it even more Dreams-like, other than maybe giving us the possibility of creating 3D levels, kind of like they had that top-down thing, maybe adding some more options in for things like that, and still giving us all the characters to work off of, and maybe kind of evolving the tech to like one more level. But I really don't see them giving us things like, well, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I could expect that they could give us keyframes in Little Big Planet. Things that, if you don't know what keyframes are, it's basically like allowing you to animate something that shifts between two areas, or like animate it by just moving it, and then it smooths that transition using the different blends. It's kind of hard to explain, but hopefully I will have a video here on screen. If I don't, well, then I'll have a sorry on screen. But regardless, that kind of thing I could see making its way into Little Big Planet, because it wouldn't be that big of a leap forward. The only issue here is there is a limit to Little Big Planet. It is built on technology, and creating too many things or adding too many things, or more specifically changing things like at the core of create mode, is just impossible, because it would take so much more coding and you'd basically be recreating the game just to add in a few things if they are more pivotal, like keyframes and stuff. So honestly, I don't know what they would do with Little Big Planet 4, but I don't think that Sony is going to allow Sumo Digital to not make a Little Big Planet 4. But maybe instead of these huge sweeping changes in create mode, to make it so much more similar to Dreams and try to compete with Dreams, which I don't see it doing, because they're supposed to fulfill different niches, and that wouldn't make sense in Sony's mind because they want to sell both of them. But I would see Little Big Planet turning into more of a gameplay-centric game that still has this fantastically open create mode, but adding more big changes within the gameplay as opposed to within the create mode. So giving way more tools that Media Molecule has made, and just putting a huge set of them out there, and not that Media Molecule's made, that Media Molecule and Sumo Digital have made, but putting that huge set of tools out there into the next game, and adding enough of them so that the gameplay feels different enough and feels new enough and feels, you know, pivotally changed enough for it to warrant a new game and a new $60. But again, I see more of those things coming in gameplay than I do in create mode, because, you know, adding more things in create mode, they can keep adding more and more things, but to some extent, it's just going to get closer and closer to Dreams, and that kind of stops it from fulfilling the niche that it would strive in. Little Big Planet being this, you know, more user-friendly and more accessible create type game with a fantastic story mode and a lot more love and effort put into that story mode, because they don't have to spend so much time creating all these new tools every game. And Dreams fulfilling the niche of being this crazy open source tool that people use to create games with, or create music with, or create movies with, or anything like that. And kind of creating that divide there and emphasizing it with each entry is where I see both of them going. So going back to what I originally was talking about, I do think that it is worth playing Little Big Planet, not just for playing the levels because they're good levels, but worth creating in Little Big Planet just because it's such a different experience from Dreams. And depending on what you're looking for, I think it's worth trying both. And I think that everybody should absolutely try Dreams when it comes out, not just because I want everyone to buy it so that we get as much support as possible, but more specifically because I know that even if the creation is too tough in Dreams and you fall back on Little Big Planet, or even if you don't want to create in either of them, having the source of levels from LittleBigPlanet and having this crazy source of levels in full games from Dreams and movies and every other sort of animation type thing, that is going to be worth the purchase of the game in general. But it's still worth trying out those create tools because though it is significantly more difficult than LittleBigPlanet in my opinion, it is still hands down a fantastically user-friendly game, if that makes sense. That was a very long, drawn-out sentence, but it is not as hard as it looks. Maybe that is a much better way to say that. But I don't know what you guys think, because that is just what I think. If you guys think that there is going to be no use to play LittleBigPlanet at all when Dreams comes out, or more specifically, if you think Dreams is going to replace LittleBigPlanet in every single aspect, let me know. And we'll chat about it, because I don't think it is, but hey, maybe you do. Regardless, I hope you guys are all doing well. I know that this is not the whole, like, tips, and this is the actual answer part of my channel, but this is a type of video that I do enjoy making, because I like just turning on the camera and talking about things and giving my opinions on things, because, well, I spend so much time thinking about this and playing these games that hopefully it is useful and or interesting to someone to watch. I guess that's why you're subscribed. Or maybe you're unsubscribing now, but please don't, because there will be more specific and well-narrated videos in the very near future where I talk about tips and stuff like that and other levels that I may be making right now and planning to make in Dreams. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I hope you all are doing well. I will talk to you guys in the next video, but for now, goodbye! Bye, guys. I hope there weren't shadows on my face this whole time, because I realize my light is right here. Is that really bad? I guess we'll see.